Welcome to this edition of Labor Vision. I'm Bob Delaney, Executive Director of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. Labor Vision, a production of the Institute, focuses on topics of importance to working Rhode Islanders. We hope you enjoy this edition.
Welcome to Labor Vision, a production of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. I'm your host, Erica Hammond, and joined with me today we have State Representative David Bennett and Rhode Island elected organizer for SEIU 1199, Emmanuel Falck. Thank you so much for joining us, both of you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So why don't we start off by having you, Representative Bennett, introduce yourself, talk a little bit about the area that you represent, and a little bit of your background. I know that you've spent years in the healthcare industry, so if you want to talk about that.
Well, I represent Warwick, part of Warwick, District 20, a great section of Warwick. I've been a nurse for the last, I've been in healthcare since I was 17 years old. Mm-hmm. And I feel it helps me up at the State House when it comes to medical bills and different types of physical therapy bills, stuff like that. And I'm also very concerned with labor and minimum wage. I'm the youngest of 6 kids in my family, and I think it's important that people, have enough food to live on. I mean, we just got the raise of $11.50, but I don't think that's a living wage. Mm-hmm. But it's better than what it was, as long as we keep progressing. But
it's a step.
We really need to get to a living wage.
And you just briefly highlighted it, but you want to talk a little bit more about that increase in minimum wage? I know it just took place a few weeks ago. Yeah,
it hasn't been signed by the governor yet, but when you raise minimum wage, these people spend it right back in the economy. They're not people that are going to take off and go on vacation up north somewhere. Mm-hmm. Their big vacation is maybe going to Scarborough and it's local stuff. That's where they spend their money. And the dollar an hour may be that thing that puts them up where they can buy it something extra. I used to say, it's like, the difference between hot dogs and a hot dog with a bun,
Yeah.
Cereal and a cereal with milk. Anytime we increase our lowest earners' pay, I think everybody does well. The businesses will tell you, oh, no, it hurts my business. But those same people spend their money at that business if they're that type of business. We would like to see people raise the wages on their own, but you can't count on that.
Right.
They just don't do it.
And I know you've been a critical part of raising the minimum wage for a number of years, starting back in either 2012, maybe 2010, mm-hmm. right? How was this process a little bit different? I know that at the end there was some different amendments. Can you explain that process a little bit?
Yeah, well, when I went in, it was $7.35, and we started increasing. And I was lucky enough to get the bill, and because of my relationship with SEIU and mm-hmm. and seeing people that work for low wages, and it got me interested in helping that progress. And this year I ran a bill that would automatically bring it up to $15 an hour by 2020 mm-hmm. and 2022. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, mm-hmm. but and they didn't want to fly. The management and I negotiated to $11.50, yeah. And without the increments, if we went to the increments and they were saying they could go to the index, and it's complicated because then the General Assembly loses the control over raising minimum wage. It goes to like DLT and they put it on an index. If we have a good year or a good few years, they get raises. But if we start having a bad, going into another recession or something, they're stagnant, they stay. So at least this way, we can say it's the economy's not right to raising the minimum wage this year. We'll raise it next year, and it's something I hold dear to my heart, that you know, anytime you can put food on people's plate, help them pay their bills. Think about that, $11.50. Think about living on $11.50. You know, that's $1 raise for them. But I mean, I just the gas in your car, or getting to work, you know, buying food.
Right.
You know, it all adds up. The winter time, and if you have oil heater, you're using more electricity. You know, and it helps.
It may only be $40 a week, but that's, at least for me, that's my gas tank. So
Yeah.
that's putting gas in the car,
Yep.
right, for the week.
Yep, and
It makes a
you know,
difference.
and it's like when you get a raise at work, you feel better about yourself. You know, you feel the company cares about what you're doing. You know, and when the state raises minimum wage, it has the same effect. People feel good. They feel like they're doing something in the job. And these jobs aren't minimal. You know, they're not. They used to be entry-level positions, but with the way our economy is going, now people are supplementing their incomes by grabbing these small part-time jobs, which are minimum wage. And some people work a full-time minimum wage plus a part-time minimum wage. And you know, they're trying to make ends meet. And the more we can help them, the better our economy would do.
All right, and on the topic of increased wages, Emmanuel, I know that you had a victory in the State House last year with increasing wages of direct service providers for individuals who care for the individuals with disabilities. Do you want to speak on that a little bit? I know that you were on that legislation as well.
Yes.
You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, and I just want to thank you for having me on the show. You're doing a great job with the show,
Thank you.
Erica, and it's great to be on the Mardi Gras special edition of
right.
Labor Vision. So,
Thank you for being here.
you know, Dave talked a little bit about the minimum wage increase, and I do want to talk about the wage increase for caregivers who would take care of adults for developmental disabilities. But I want to really recognize the moment we're in, where, you know, low-wage workers from around the country for several years now have been demanding a higher wage. The fight for 15 started when a few dozen brave workers in New York City that work in fast food went on strike. And, you know, fast forward to now, we've seen $15 an hour pass statewide, and in many states, New York, our neighbors in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and California, and ultimately we think we need to get there on a faster track, and we support that. And it's great to be on the show with Dave, because Dave is a champion for working class folks. He really is a working class hero, and he's been working on this issue for a long time. $1 is a great start, but we really do need to get to 15.
Right.
So last year we for a long time, we represent workers along with some other unions. They're called direct support professionals. They take care of adults with developmental disabilities. We represent the workers that do that up at the Arc of Blackstone Valley, who are in Pawtucket and spread out through the Blackstone Valley. These are folks who really have answered a calling to take care of one of the most vulnerable set of residents we have in this state. And, you know, as the population with developmental disabilities gets older, it's the direct support professionals that really take on more and more of the role of the family as the clients, as their parents age. You know, a lot of the clients are baby boomers now. Their parents are passing away, or themselves in a long-term care setting. So. We have a set of upside down priorities where the workers that do the work, you know, they're making around between $12.50 and $13 an hour. That is an embarrassment for the state. It's an embarrassment for the. It really shows a warped set of priorities that we have as a state of Rhode Island. So. For the last several years, we've worked together with other unions and some community groups to try to pass legislation to increase wages, and we were able to have success with a lot of help from allies, especially in the House, like Dave, going to the leadership and saying this is an important bill, and we were able to win an increase in the budget. It worked out to about $1, and then some of the union facilities like ours were able to negotiate for about $1.30 an hour. It was the biggest increase these workers have seen in over a decade. It's still not enough, so we're going to be back at it again, because we really should value the work that these workers do.
I would, sorry.
It's hard work they do.
Oh,
I mean, you have to
absolutely.
be a special person to to work in this field. And the wages are like almost secondary because they're dedicated to these people. You start a relationship with them, and they're with them every day. They have to, like I was saying earlier, they have to clean them. They have to get their food ready. They have to dress them. They really get to know them really well. And you can go to McDonald's and make the same money, and pushing hamburgers. And these are people, and you really get discouraged when you hear some of the stories. You go to raise the bar, and you hear their stories and you're like, wow. And they don't want to leave that job. They want to stay, but they should be paid. And you look at, myself being a nurse. Myself being a nurse, I know that it's hard work.
Absolutely.
And continuity of care is so important to these people. A stranger comes in, and they get nervous too. I mean, they don't know this person. But a person they know, the person they can rely on, the person that 40-hour a week is there to help them, improves their lives. They're like, oh, you're here, and they're happy to see you, and you're happy to see them. And that's the way it should be, and we have to recognize that, or we're gonna keep shortchanging these people.
Yeah. Well, while we're on that topic, do you want to highlight a little bit more about the legislation on the staffing in in nursing home facilities?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So a big priority of ours this year, we represent close to 900 nursing home workers in the state of Rhode Island, thousands between Connecticut and Rhode Island, and then nationwide over 250,000 nursing home workers. We did a survey of our membership in the build up to a contract year at 6 of our nursing homes that we represent in Rhode Island. And usually when we do a contract survey, it's, number one is wages, and healthcare is usually number 2. Well, this year when we did it for the contract build up, our membership and the CNAs that are on the front lines of this, and other support staff in the nursing homes, the number one issue, along with wages, was a need to improve our staffing. So we took that very seriously. We did some research, and we're appalled to find that Rhode Island is the only state in New England without a minimum staffing standard in New England, one of only 11 in the country. We had one for a while, and then Kachiri got rid of it through the regulatory process. So what's happening in our nursing homes is a lot of the nursing homes, not all of them, are squeezing profit by putting more work on the CNAs, to the point where residents are not getting the care that they deserve. And so when we dug into the data and some of the federal staffing data, not only do we not have a staffing standard, but seniors in this state are only on average getting about 3.2 hours of care per day. There's nursing homes that are above that, and then a lot that are below that. That is not enough.
There's no standard for that at the moment.
There's no standard. That's just the data that we've seen has it at 3.2 hours. Again, lowest in New England, and we're actually below the national average.
Wow.
And it's really not fair to residents. And we hear from our members heartbreaking stuff of how residents are like, you're not spending enough time with me. Nursing homes can be like lonely places, and families don't get there all the time. And again, just like the DSPs, the CNAs in the nursing homes really take on some of that social role of the family. So we've submitted legislation. Representative Bennett is a co-sponsor on it, and we want a minimum staffing standard of 4.1 hours. We think nursing home residents deserve more than that, but we think that's a good first start, and that's the federal guideline that is recommended by CMS, which is the federal entity that does Medicaid reimbursement. So we have a big campaign. A lot of the nursing home industry doesn't want to see this change, but we're bringing together community groups, residents, and workers to win that. And as part of that legislation, we also want to win a living wage for these workers, because the wages are too low. We have the same problem that we have with the DSPs is people are not staying in this field, and we can't attract new people because the pay is not high enough. If you walk around in a nursing home today, there's not a lot of young people doing the work because they come in, they have to take care of 12, 13 people. 10 years ago, you become a CNA, you'd go in, you take care of 8 or 9 people on a shift, and we got to get back to that, and that's the goal of the legislation.
All right. Well, in the interest of time, I would love to bring you guys back to talk about this, especially we'll continue the conversation about the staffing, and it would be great to have you guys both on again very shortly. It's very soon. So thank you both so much for taking the time to be here.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. All right? All right. For those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching Labor Vision. You can watch this episode on our YouTube channel, which is Labor Vision TV 1. Thank you so much. We hope you have a great day. Welcome to Labor Vision, a production of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. I'm your host, Erica Hammond, and join with me today to talk about their recent victory in Scituate as well as what comes next are both Nick Carnevale and Joshua Homerston from the Scituate School Custodians. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Right. Welcome back, I should say. And so I know you were here in early December when the first conversations or the first letter came out about the privatization, the possibility of privatization in the district. So I'm pleased to have you both returning with some exciting news. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the recent school committee meeting?
Yes, on Monday recently, the school committee decided to have a emergency meeting to decide whether or not to privatize the custodian staff at Scituate. And ultimately, they decided to keep us.
Unanimously.
Unanimously,
right?
yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
And I know that this vote changed, right? So this meeting was supposed to be a certain day, and then they switched it to sooner, right?
Yeah, March 3rd, they were going to have at the normal school committee meetings, but they decided to push it further along. I'm thinking because they just wanted to end it and get it over with. And they had already made their decision.
Okay.
So there's no point in waiting.
Right, holding it off. And I know that a lot of that push, that rush to maybe move it forward, and they wanted to stop, maybe it was public pressure. I don't know if you guys want to talk about the community support that you guys experienced throughout this fight.
Community support was the biggest thing for us. It was, I don't want to say a surprise, but we were definitely taken aback by the amount of support.
Yeah.
So the meeting was supposed to be March 3rd, and they moved it, like Josh just said. As far as we know, it's just because of pressure. They moved it. Most of their meetings happen in the library in the high school, which is a very small space. And for the past, what is it now, 4 or 5 months, we've been filling up the library.
Wow.
So they finally took hint and moved it to the auditorium for this last meeting. We had a great showing of people, and again, the community is the biggest thing. I think it was such a driving factor. We right away had seen a change when we received the letter about privatization. It was a letter simply stating that they're looking into privatizing because they don't have enough money. And the community had contacted them, so many parents, teachers, you name it, contacted them, that immediately the conversation was changed to, okay, we'll privatize, but we want a company that will keep all of our custodians. So, I mean, in the end, it's a huge, huge thank you to the community, is overall what we want to say.
I think it's incredible. I mean, you mentioned before that you may have been surprised at first when you realized how much support you had for the community, but I think it's always a surprise when you find that people are really valuing the work that you're doing. And I thought that was incredible of Scituate to really come out for you, come out and show up for you guys, right?
Oh yeah. One of the things, as custodians specifically, is we always know we're kind of in the shadows. You know, as far as we know, people don't know what we do. People don't necessarily see us that much. When we're there at events, that's about it. They'll see us cross by.
Right, the extent of what you do.
Yeah, so it was, again, just that support was was incredible.
That's awesome. What were some of the ways that you got the word out about this possibility of privatization to get the community support or to make them aware of what was happening?
We created a website, Save the Scituate Custodians, on Facebook, and immediately people started joining up. It was just like a fireworks. It just exploded. And then we also went and made lawn signs, over 200 lawn signs, Save the Scituate Custodians. And within the first week of 100 signs, they were gone within 4 days.
Wow. And that's from people wanting to
That's
pick them
because
up and
people
put them
wanted them
out.
so bad, to support us. We did flyers. We went down the streets to all the stores in Scituate, in the town, and every store we went to, all the vendors, they were happy to take our flyers to support us,
Right.
which was awesome. So everybody in the whole town was behind us. Everybody.
Right. And I know that, I'm sorry, I didn't give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves for those who didn't see the December episode or the December segment of this. But I know you both grew up in Scituate, you both went through the Scituate public schools. And can you talk about that a little bit? There's a very significant piece in working where you grew up, working in a school that you went to, and you guys aren't the only ones of the custodians, right?
Right.
That's the same situation.
I think it's about 6 of us that had gone through the school system itself. So, I mean, if you really want to look at it that way, we're not just guys who show up at a job. We're guys who show up at a job in a town we live in, at a school that we've gone through. So I know something that Josh and I talk about all the time is seeing the progress that the school has made since we've been there. And just little things, like a cafeteria being updated, where we look at that and go, that's not what it looked like when we were here. This is awesome. This is upgraded. The kids nowadays don't necessarily know what this school has come from, but we do. And it kind of adds that little extra bit of investment, I guess you want to say, into our building.
Well, we get to watch the school grow.
Yeah.
From when we went there to what it is now is huge. It's every year it gets better. And as custodians, we want to make it better in our way. The cleaner we keep the school, we feel the better and the more people want to be at the school. Because you don't want to go to work every day and have to wade through trash through the hallways.
Right.
You know, you're not going to want to be there. So the cleaner we keep the school, it keeps people there.
And it was incredible to see. I know that on the Facebook page that you guys had created, you kind of highlighted different members. And I think that was incredible because the community really got to see everything that you guys do. So at least the one that I'm thinking of, I saw one of the individuals, I'm sorry, you may know his name, but he was helping one of the students off of the bus.
Jeff Spicer.
Jeff Spicer.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not just we come to work, we clean up the halls and we leave. Like there's so much more to it.
Jeff Spicer knows every student's name in that school.
Yeah.
Now, you can't put a price on that.
No. And to think of a group coming in and just giving you guys an option to interview for the position and not guaranteeing that you'll all have a job that would have been unfathomable, I feel like, for a lot of parents once you can see how invested all of you are.
Well,
Yeah.
And the
in the
wages.
schools. Yeah.
The wages
Yeah.
at the privatized companies, they're $11.50. And the highest paid is $13.50. That's almost an $8 pay cut for us. It's impossible to live on that.
I mean, even if you were guaranteed the job, who can stay in that job,
No.
right?
Yeah.
And be able to afford a living. That's not a living wage.
When we got the RFPs, we started looking through them, and one of the biggest things that came out to us was the fact that there's so many parts of our job that, like Joshua said, just knowing kids' names. You can't put a price tag on that. You can't ask for that in an RFP either. There's the human elements of our job that you can't ask a private company to be able to do or to
guarantee.
To guarantee, yeah.
Yeah.
So when we were comparing these RFPs, our first thing that we actually started looking at was just, do these guys do the work that we do as just job first level? And then after we got through that, when we were noticing there's parts of our jobs that are missing, we started to look into the actual, the other parts, the more human elements of the job, who these companies were, and that's a big part, I think, of why we had such a great win and put so much pressure on the school committee, because we were doing our homework.
Right.
We were really, they brought up something, so rather than 100% trusting their word on everything, we decided let's look into it ourselves so we can keep questioning them on things that are questionable within all of this. And it definitely paid off.
Yeah. I mean, I would commend the school committee for sure. They went from a 5-0 vote, right, to see these RFPs, to a 5-0 vote rejecting them. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the 5-0 vote, the first for the RFPs, the school committee just wanted to get numbers. And that's why they voted 5-0. But then, when they got the RFPs and they read them, or the contracts from the private companies, what they were going to do and what they were going to pay and how they were going to treat the schools, the school committee decided this is not right for Scituate. And ultimately, they all voted 5-0 against privatizing and to keep us. They're not going to save the school department, they're not going to take the skin off the back of their workers.
Yeah. And that's something to definitely appreciate them for, right? They saw the value in the work that you guys are doing as well, because they rejected it.
We're grateful that they actually, in a way, threw away that numbers game.
Yeah.
And we're looking at us as people the way we were hoping this whole conversation would be.
They put people over profit this time, and that's awesome. Now, I know that this isn't where the fight stops, so negotiations come next, right? And there's definitely going to be opportunity for the community to continue to stay involved. Do you guys want to, before we close up, you want to talk about that briefly?
Yes, next is we need to get another contract. But seeing as how we went through all this stuff here, we're not really looking to get really much or anything. We just want to roll over our old contract, fix some of the language in it, and then move on. And in 3 years, we'll see how the school's doing. And if they're doing well, we'll go back to the table and maybe we'll be able to get a little something.
Okay.
We want them to know that we're willing to work with them. It's not two entities butting heads.
And in the meantime, the Save Scituate Custodians Facebook page will remain open, right?
Oh yeah, we're gonna just kind of tweak the name of that and convert that just so that it'll just be a community page, so the community can continue seeing what we're doing, and we can continue pushing all that forward.
And when we clean during the summertime, we'll post videos of before and after shots of the classrooms and the hallways so that people know exactly what we do.
That's great. And I know it would be really interesting. I wonder if anyone, maybe any viewers who are watching, have photos of what the school maybe looked like in the past when you guys were there. That would be really cool to do a before and after kind of shots.
Over the years,
that would be really cool. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys both so much for coming back on the show. And I wish you guys all the best luck moving forward with negotiations. And I really just want to congratulate you. You guys did some awesome work, and I think you really pulled the community in together. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Being here.
Thank you, guys. For those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching Labor Vision. Thank you so much for being here. We hope to see you back here next week. Have a great night.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Labor Vision. We appreciate your input and encourage your comments. Labor Vision can be seen on this channel 3 times each week: Tuesday at 7 p.m., Thursday at 8 p.m., and Saturday at 5 p.m.